Welcome back to the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and I'm joined with Adam today, and we are some of the writers from Obojima, and you are... sorry. Rest in peace, sorry.
Some.
Yep.
We are missing our like a leg.
Mm-hmm. He unfortunately died in a fatal lichen accident. Mossed to death.
Mossed.
1,000 mosslings.
Ooh.
Oh. Anyways.
Okay.
Today you're joining us as we do our weekly writers meeting where we sit down, we talk Obojima, we chat ideas, and some of it makes into the book, some of it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And this week we're talking monstrous factions. And so as we were sitting there with our pregame faction, our faction talk, our pregame podcast talk, we were sitting with our coffee. We talked a little bit about this, and the idea is, are there factions of monsters? Now there kind of is. Like you could imagine the fish folk, or maybe a faction in themselves. But is there like a monstrous group that is organized towards a goal of some sort, like one of the human factions? I kind of talked about the howlers being, like if you took 6 howlers from one area and another 8 howlers from another area and you put them adjacent to each other, they would tear each other apart.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to work together.
No.
But what does like an organized group of monsters look like? Now we see a version of that towards the fish folk, and I think with that is an organized monstrous faction.
Yeah.
But what is something that doesn't have like a singular goal, right? The fish folk, or maybe a goal that doesn't revolve around one person's ego.
Yeah.
Right? The fish folk all follow the Lionfish King's orders, and the Lionfish King is just trying to get more power, or I guess become a true king.
Yeah.
In his way of doing.
He's
so.
trying to fulfill like a Nakadama sort of prophecy.
Yeah.
He's like, if I can become part of, he wants to be royalty.
Yeah.
Like legit royalty. So the only way he can do that is to, fulfill this Nakadaman prophecy of like marrying the princess of the Nakadama.
So with that, what does a nether monstrous faction look like? And so we were kind of discussing this idea that I kind of want to continue to play with, which is like, what if a group of monsters took over a small town?
Yeah.
Like what if there's like a town or a village with, 10 to 15 houses in it, and the monsters came in and kicked all the villagers out and now are living in this town, this potentially first age town. What would that look like? What would their goals be? And what monsters would it be? Would it be, is it a new unique monster type, or is it a, like a mixed bag of creatures? Is it like one demon and a couple howlers and like a fish folk and they're all like this ragtag group of monsters that are working under one unified goal?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's like, there's something fun about, I remember a long time ago when we did Out of the Abyss. It was an Underdark adventure in Dungeons and Dragons. We created this group of ragtag misfits called the Society of Brilliance. And it was like, there was like an Illithid and some other monsters in there, and they were all just sort of like mushed together, and they were, kind of almost like an adventuring party in a way, but they were all monsters. But so it could be that you have, because I like the idea that you have a demon and a howler and, who's like missing his tail, and, a Yokario who's like blind, and, a fish folk who, got booted out from Venomous Rex's, party, or how, and they all just kind of converged. And then there maybe the demon has some kind of harebrained idea, like some crazy thing, and they're all just sort of like, well, that sounds good, let's do it. And maybe it's like they want to build an effigy of some elder spirit, and in thinking that if they do it, it'll bring this elder spirit back to, like to manifest it or summon it, or they want to build a portal to some, utopia that they all kind of agree that exists.
Ooh.
And obviously it's just not going to work, but they believe it, so they're going to do it. Or it could work. It could be magically weird and just happen.
So there's something interesting that I thought of as you were talking about that. I like the idea of a spirit of like, you mentioned like, okay, let's say a demon is leading this organization, because obviously demons are leading this organization. But you mentioned like they're trying to bring back some spirit. That's an interesting relationship. Usually in my head, I imagine spirits and demons being really opposed to each other. Like they're never, the polar opposites. Like a spirit doesn't, there's no desire for them to spend any time with each other, nor do they like each other, because they kind of see each other as like the opposite of each other, the enemies of each other.
Yeah.
And so it'd be interesting for this demon to have a desire to bring a spirit back or something like that. So I'm wondering what you think that relationship might look like. But then another question I had was, what if this, is there a demon? This is maybe a completely separate idea. Is there a demon creature who's maybe wanting to use the corruption to maybe start to turn some of these creatures into demons or something like that?
So then it's like the demon is really kind of a jerk, and it is, bringing in all these misfits to try just to experiment on them, or to create an army of corrupted. Because let's say the demon wants a spirit who, got tangled up with the corruption, and then that corruption turned the spirit into a demon.
Yeah.
And then they're like, the story could be the demon's like, oh, now I see, like I was this foolish spirit, and then when I touched this sacrament of the corruption, now I'm, in contact with the true, and of course they're just out of their mind. And then they're just trying to spread that corruption around, and they're taking advantage of these poor, wandering monsters, basically. Or it could be that, the demon's like, this will actually make you stronger, and then together we will, create a territory of our own. Or they're like, the demon could be kind of like one of those, like, I remember the movie Hellboy, where there's just like the Rasputin character who's like, drawing all these arcane circles, and there's all he has these followers around him, and he's going to open a gate portal to hell, and, bring in all his minions. It could be this demon's trying to do something like that, and the demon needs these others to sort of participate in his madness.
It's pretty cool.
Trying to create a ritual magic. Could also be when you were saying earlier about the relationship between why does a demon want to bring back an elder spirit. Could be that the demon wants to do it because once the demon brings back this elder spirit, then the demon will be able to control it. Like it's going to bring the elder spirit back and imprison it at the same time.
Oh,
and so
interesting.
It's kind of like, ha ha, in your face.
Like it has some sort of power. It has a trump card, and once the spirit comes back, it's going to play it.
Yeah, and then it's going to use it's going to either bargain with the elder spirit or use its power. It might like actually bring it into a container, and then use its power to do something even more devious.
Ooh, I mean, okay. Not to say I don't like the corruption idea. There's something interesting about. Maybe that's why this demon and these howlers took over this village. Is maybe there's something that grows here, or something that's like important to this location that the demon is going to use to trap this elder spirit.
Could be that this town, if you were, and maybe this is what the demon has done since took over the town and hollowed like in the town square. Like maybe this town had a big square or a circle area where people were just like, this place is sacred, and a bunch of a beautiful tree grew there, and the demon's like takes over the town, takes the tree, rips it up. He's like, dumb tree, ugh, get out of there. And then underneath is a giant crystal, and that's the thing that the demon's been wanting, and that's going to be the prison.
Interesting.
So the demon's like, we're going to use this magic crystal that nobody knew was there. They just thought the tree was the cool thing. It's like, nope, the tree was just sort of the byproduct of this. But the demon knows, because the demon's, a jerk. Underneath is the actual, that's where the goods are. We're going to take that crystal. We're going to use it to, re-summon an elder spirit. And it could be bringing another elder spirit that's, sort of sleeping in the middle of Obojima, just having a nice chill time. And they're going to suck him into that. Or it could be like summoning one from somewhere, or like capturing the spirit of the wind, And it could be there's, if you're an adventurer and you're going along and you're in the Gale fields, all of a sudden the wind just dies down, goes, and it's just like still.
Yeah.
And you could be with a guide or with somebody and they're like, this has never happened. Like the Gale fields always has a breeze going, right?
Yeah.
And then that could be like, well, what happened? What happened to the wind? And, some people, after a couple days, they're just like, this is too weird. Something's gone on. And then maybe you're with a druid and the druid's like, something is wrong with the spirit of the wind is gone, and then it's like, ooh,
I like that quite a bit.
That's an Obojima adventure right there.
I like that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say this ragtag group of monsters under maybe the control or something like that of maybe the monsters all work together and the demon doesn't have maybe control over them, but maybe it has it can use the pacify spell at will. Yeah. And so as the monsters start to fight, it just pacifies them all, and they it calms the arguments down because they can't beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah. Or they're just so terrified of the demon that they obey.
That's true.
That's
also
like
true.
The biggest bully on the playground is just like, and again, it comes back into what kind of world, you again, DM, you can make Obojima any way you want, and you can have it where you've got the monsters, which, if you run into a howler, you can make them silly and goofy, and or you can make them really dangerous, and a party of adventurers needs to be very wary of them. You can make them also comedic, but in this story, you could have it where there's a really seriously dangerous demon and then all kind of goofy monsters that this demon has turned into his workforce to do stuff. Or you could have it, these monsters are really all terrifying and horrible.
It reminds me of if I'm sure plenty of people in the audience, but if you have not watched Jujutsu Kaisen,
I've watched maybe the first season or so.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's 2 seasons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you there's the arc eventually reveals that there is, for the lack of better terms, an ex-sorcerer, like an ex-human character, who is leading all of these curses, which is you could just use demons in that regard. In Obojima terms, they'd be demons. Yeah. And so all these curses are working together, which they might normally would not do necessarily, but they are all working together now under the control of this sorcerer character. And so I'm kind of imagining something similar where if the passerby would walk by, this group should not work, but they are working because there's one singular person who is either manipulating them or controlling them. And I think the way you can kind of build up in this is the lowest level grunts are goofy, and then as you get further up higher, the ladder, it gets a little more scary and maybe a little more serious.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm also kind of this story, although it's not, the parallels aren't exactly the same, also is giving a similar, almost like a twisted version of Princess Mononoke, where in Princess Mononoke, they want to kill the spirit, the forest spirit, so they can, strip the forest of its resources and all of these other things, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like the forest spirit came to peace and rest, and now they want to, in another way, resurrect it to manipulate it.
Yeah.
It's like in a you could see, if not to say they've never made a Princess Mononoke a sequel, but you could imagine a sequel to the film where industrialization has stripped the forest of all of its resources now that the forest spirit's gone, and now they want to resummon it to grow the forest back.
Oh, that is
because
cool.
they want to strip. They need the resource.
Yeah,
the resource is extinguished. They've used it all, and so you could almost look at this. Maybe this relationship with the demon in a similar way. Like this elder spirit is gone, but the demon wants the thing that this elder spirit once offered.
Oh,
and so it needs it back. Even though it despises spirits, it needs this relationship. Now, the other thing, you were talking about crystals as like the thing that it traps. Very classic OG D&D.
Oh, yeah.
A big old crystal.
Ain't nothing like it.
But I'm also thinking of like, more folklore trapping things inside basically like trapping the soul of something inside another creature and what that relationship kind of looks like. I also kind of think of Mr. Sheep or the sheep from the Wandering Forest and trapping people in the forms of mice. I guess that's more of like a polymorph spell than anything. But what if this demon had like these like pets around it, like this like you could like, what's a good example? Like a big tuna, like it had a tuna that would float around, or maybe it's a goldfish or something like that, and like written all over this goldfish, like graffiti almost, are like these markings and these things, and it is the elder spirit that it is trapped inside. It's a elder spirit or a spirit that is trapped inside this fish. Like it's taking the properties of whelming that spirits naturally can do, and it's trapping them in the thing and stopping them from leaving. Oh. So like maybe this demon, as the spirit like whelms into this object, then performs a bunch of magic and arcane traditions and rituals to trap it and stop it from leaving. Oh, okay. And if it can do that in like a small animal or something like that it control, like this elder spirit's dangerous unless it's in a goldfish.
It could totally be that. I was thinking like, I think there was a mafia hitman in The Sopranos called Big Tuna. That was his nickname. And I was just like, oh, it's Big Tuna. But yeah, that's cool. It makes me think of like, what is the demon's sort of motivation for that? Like, is the demon doing it out of revenge, and sort of like the demon hasn't thought beyond like, once I capture this elder spirit, that to me is enough, and then I can just kind of mock it, like, haha, you're not so tough anymore, and now I can tell you to like go swim over there and do whatever, and that's it. Or does the demon have thoughts beyond that, like, now that I've got you, now I'm going to use your power to do this thing, which is what I really want to do.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? It could be a grander design, a goal of something more dangerous.
Could be spreading corruption. It could be, the demon wants to create an army. The demon wants to burrow into the center of Mount Arbora. The demon wants to, kill one of the great beasts.
It could also deal with, something we don't explore very often is a demon's life before being a demon. So it could be, what were these spirits' relationship to the demon when it was a spirit? So what was, when the demon before it turned and it was a spirit of some sort, what, is it going after its prior relationships? Is it going after maybe the people that banished it from the spirit realm?
Yeah. Is it a tragic, like, could you relate to this like story as a player? Like, is it a tragic story where you kind of start to feel sorry for the demon, and then it lures you in with your pathetic feelings, now I'll manipulate you with those? Like, is it kind of one of those deals?
This is something we've never discussed. I guess we kind of have, what does a spirit relationship look like? So we've discussed that there's the four elder spirits, the river spirits, right? They're all brothers.
Okay.
So we're saying that spirits can have family and siblings. Do they have wives? Do they have partners? Do they have spouses?
Yeah.
And so
Maybe.
it could be a situation. Now, not to get too sad, it could be it could be like this demon was driven by grief into their current form, and the spirit that they're resurrecting was like their wife or maybe their father or their parent or their brother or something. It could be that the spirits that they're trying to trap are like their family.
Oh wow.
And so it's like I can never be with you again. I'm barred. I'm banned from the spirit realm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to pull you into the physical realm, and you don't want to be with me. But if I can put you in a little fish and I can keep you at my side forever, then I can be with you.
Or if I can corrupt you.
Or I can
like,
corrupt you
join
and
me
turn
in corruption.
Yeah.
Like, you'll come around. Don't worry. Like, yeah.
I mean, that's fun.
That's great. Yeah, tragic stories are good.
It's you'd have to play it up quite a bit to get people to feel for the demon at the same time, because they're doing something just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, then it's just a matter of, the demon must need the monsters, first of all, to take over this town.
Yeah.
So the demons conscripted all these, ragtag monsters to take over this town, and then it's used them to unearth, if we do something like there's a power stone or something like that, fine. If not, then there has to be just like to cast a ritual spell.
It could be that maybe the spirit isn't dead that they're trying to capture. Maybe the spirit's in the spirit realm, and this town is in the position underneath their home in the spirit realm,
or their tomb,
or wherever it is. And so they need the village because it's the location that like parallels itself to the spirit realm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's neat. And so then it's just trying to figure out a way to then either cast a spell or to corrupt.
Yeah. You need to thin the veil to the spirit realm. It also could be it could be that this demon also wants some humans or maybe some spirits or something on its team, because it can't go into the spirit realm and it needs someone else to.
Yeah. I mean, can monsters go in the spirit realm? They could.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we know they can, because the Lionfish King was imprisoned in Alua for 10 years.
That's right.
Due to Captain Clintock.
That's right. He is grumpy about that.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
they can. Okay. They can go into the spirit realm. So maybe he sends them into the spirit realm. That's another reason. It could be. This is an interesting. Maybe there needs to be like a parallel. Like if you're thinking back to your Rasputin character making these circles and glyphs, maybe there needs to be the same glyphs with like the same exact incantation marked in the spirit realm and the physical realm.
Ooh, okay.
And then you have to put like the fish or the bodied character, like say it's a rat or something like that. You put that on the physical realm, and then you have to lure the spirit in the top version in the spirit realm, and they kind of do this like amalgamation,
switcheroo,
you switcheroo, the shift where they become one.
That's interesting. And then you've got this little like living prison in a way. Ooh, that's creepy.
It is creepy, but I like it a lot.
So then when the demon has that the spirit prisoned inside of a physical form, like, I mean, if it's your, like, let's say it's your wife that, long ago you were both living in the spirit realm. It was wonderful. You got corrupted and then banished. And then you're like, now I want to like recapture my long lost love. Do you want to put them in an animal form, or do you want to sort of remanifest them as they were?
Well, I think the question is, does this spirit or does this demon feel like they want someone that is equal to him? Or does he want to be able to control them because he's scared they're going to leave?
Yeah, could be that.
Because
that's great.
It's kind of, if the demon thinks that if they brought a 1-to-1 comparison, like, would they stay with him?
I mean, it could be a story of like, the demon was in love with somebody and they sort of turned away, and then now the demon wants to like control them, which is a more sinister and darker tale, less tragic. There's all different kinds of avenues to go. It depends on kind of like what the flavor is you want. If you want the players to feel some sort of like empathy for the demon, then it would be that they were they're this loving couple that through a tragic set of circumstances, like she died and then he in his grief turned demonic and then was banished from the spirit world, and then he's trying to resurrect his sort of bride, and then it's sort of like this sort of kind of creepy tragic tale. It could also be that the demon turns demonic and then tries to like control somebody, like capture them, and so they can possess them, sort of like Smeagol with the ring.
Maybe it's a little bit of column A, column B, and it could be he wants to resurrect his wife, and to do so, he's capturing spirits that can help him do it. So it wouldn't just be like, oh, it's not like I need to go to her tomb and do this thing. It's like he believes he doesn't have the strength to do it or the power to do it himself. And so instead he's going to this town to capture like his, some other spirit that he's met in his past life that he thinks can assist him. Like maybe an elder spirit of revival or something like that, or love or compassion or something like that. Or maybe like a shamanistic type spirit, or like a temple, like a spirit that runs a temple in the spirit realm or something like that. It also could be that he has to capture a bunch of them. So maybe this is not the first town he's been to. Like they captured and then abandoned another village somewhere else nearby.
That's interesting.
So this is like town 2 of 3 or 4 or something like that.
So, you start to hear like, oh, these towns are getting invaded by monsters.
Yeah.
There's like been 2 so far. We don't know where they took off north. Yeah. And now they're going to go maybe for that town. That's interesting. It could also be like this demon is sort of like a Dr. Frankenstein. The demon's trying to create or bring back something, but it's never going to work. And so if the demon actually does the ritual and it does succeed, what comes back isn't necessarily sane, or it's this monstrous spirit. It's like they can never do it. So they keep resurrecting these kind of Frankenstein-y spirit things, that these creatures, and the more they do it, the more the magic's actually warping and they can actually unleash something more terrifying, like a mindless spirit horror. I mean, it starts going out of tone for Obojima, but
it could be that there's also some like self hate within this demon, and so he's attempted to bring back his wife, but every time the version that he brings back becomes a demon. Yeah. And he doesn't want someone like him. Yeah. He wants what his wife was.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of these like Edgar Allan Poe, I think it was The Monkey's Paw kind of lessons. Like when you try to use black magic to bring people back from the dead, you always just get something twisted and horrible.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think that feels good, because it kind of is like Japanese ghost story kind of vibe, where these like grief will twist you into this sort of demonic weird, like I'm just thinking of like the Emma would be perfect for this one, but like she would know, but the Japanese women who they become these ghost demons, and they're wailing and they're just clawing at the dead, or the living. That's neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's freaky. That's a freaky cool like ghost story tale.
If you didn't want to make it about like a grieving husband too, it could be like a sibling relationship too. It could be like your little, like your And spirit age, it's kind of it's a little more interesting. But your little brother or your little sister or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they're died too early or something like that.
Yeah, should have been me.
Should have been, that
I failed to protect them.
Exactly.
Like that's a very, like I failed to protect them as a very, a good thing to, it's like a wound that never heals kind of a deal. And, and then how do you, I mean, it's always the question in those stories, like, can the demon be redeemed? So if you're a DM and you're like, okay, you could do something to put this demon spirit to rest. Cool. Or if there's no possibility of redemption, then it's like, you just got to put this mad dog down. It's like, it's not salvageable. So
I like it a lot. Okay. So let's talk about the not the demon, but rather his subordinates, right? Like his crew of creatures that are assisting him. So I imagine a couple of howlers. I imagine like maybe a fish folk or some Yucario. But what other monsters? So I want to say it's only humanoid.
Yeah.
Because not to say he couldn't have like a couple of hill dragons or something like that. I feel like intelligent creatures would be the ones that he would.
Well, they have to be things that if he can give a command, like go get that, they understand what those basic commands are to go do it. It could also be that it's just a bunch of that corrupted muck. It's like the corruption zombies, basically.
Well, I want to avoid people being able to control the corruption.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's fair.
To me, the corruption is a force of nature more than a thing enacted.
But could you imbue it with some kind of like, I guess, magic, you can do anything. But if you want to keep those just sort of like nobody control these things, they're from, that's cool.
Yeah, I think you could maybe manipulate the corruption, but I don't know that you. It's like the house in Vegas when you're playing. Like the house always wins, right?
Yeah,
you might be able to temporarily manipulate it to like cast a spell or use it in a potion or whatever it is, but it always has control. Like at the end of it, it's only doing things that like it's allowing you to do. In the way I look at it.
Could it be that? For the demon to have a bunch of slimes that move.
The slimes could be cool.
Slimes have some intelligence to them.
Yeah,
they can do stuff. It could have the kafukas, those creatures.
The bird. I like that. Those crazy bird type creatures.
There's of course harpies. Those are good, wicked sort of.
I like
creatures that the demon could manipulate.
I like the harpies. I like the trifecta, right? The fish folk howler harpy relationship and them all kind of hating each other a little bit, but working along with him. So to them, what do they think the goal is? And so the true goal is the demon wants to capture is either capturing someone to help them resurrect his wife or his loved one, whoever it ends up being, or they're just straight up like they're just resurrecting whatever that loved one who's passed away. If that is the case, what do the subordinates think they're doing? Are they helping because they think that's a good cause, or are they being lied to?
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, there's always like the head, sort of the big bad has their plan, and then it's the next sort of smartest creature or most forceful creature that is sort of playing like they're trying to not get killed, because they know the demon will just smite them if they step out of line. but then they're also kind of plotting their own thing. Like, how are they, what's the thing that they want to get out of it? So they're either getting power or they're using the demon. Like, if I go along with the demon long enough, then I can learn the secret to this thing that I want.
Oh, interesting. So there's almost like it is a quote unquote unified monstrous faction, but even within that there is separation and their own internal goals.
And it's kind of like, in Star Wars with the Sith Lords, that the Sith Lords are kind of in this survival manipulation, and like jockeying positions to see like who is going to be the big bad. But if at any point the bad, the big bad has a moment of weakness, the next one under will smite them down.
Yeah.
So nobody can ever just sort of relax and have this sense of like it's always on edge. And that's the thing about evil is like that they evil would win if it could work together.
Yeah.
So that's evil's downfall, is it can never work together. Like, evil can never be communally wonderful. It's always a domineering, and one is resenting the other and just waiting for that moment when I can strike them down and then I will have power. Like,
yeah.
So you could have this dynamic within this monster organization.
So what if the relationship is like this? So howlers are very like kind of tribal, and they're very willing to work under the strongest. So I think howlers being loyal to him makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if he went, and if let's say I'm thinking of how the relationship would start, and like as the organization grows, is he's like making his way to the first town by himself, and he has no plan of getting a group of monsters to aid him, and he's attacked by like a huge party of howlers, like 40 of them.
Yeah.
And he kills the leader, and he kills the second in command, and he kills like 10 more of the howlers. Yeah. And they all like, whoa. They're all like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah. And they all like swear fealty, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, this person's super powerful. Like, we were a huge pack of howlers, and he had no trouble. Like, he could have defeated us if he wanted to. And so they all work with him. They all are like, okay, you're the new leader, right? Because that's kind of how howlers do. Then the Lionfish King gets word that there's like a quote unquote nether monstrous faction. Like another there's like another there's another person who is control of a big group that is like getting quote unquote renowned. Like people are learning about him, and the Lionfish King doesn't like being upstaged, and so he sends a group of 6 or 7 fish folk to swear fealty. Oh. And they're like double agents.
Wow.
And then the last thing would be the harpies, maybe a smaller group, like 4 or 5 harpies come, and they see something that the demon has and they want it. So they're all working under this demon, but they all have their different reasons for doing so. And so like the fish folk are pretending to be really loyal, and maybe the harpies are kind of on the outskirts, but they're also maybe the most skilled, right? They're the most skilled fighters, or they're the only ones that can fly. The demon knows that maybe they're not completely loyal, but at the same time, he really likes the skill set that they provide.
Could also, if that's, because that's interesting where, when that dynamic meets the players, then the players can either play one off of the other. They can kind of infiltrate and so then that starts to get to, if the demon is searching, let's just say the demon is searching for some magic item.
Yeah.
Now the demon wants to use it for this purpose, the harpies want to use it for another purpose, and then the howlers are just kind of like, hey, we just don't want to get killed.
Yeah.
Like that's their sort of thought process. They're just like, hey, if we serve this, we serve the strongest, and if the harpies usurp the demon, then the howlers will immediately start to follow the harpies. They don't care. They're just like, hey, we just want to get through this. But it makes me think of like the harpies, and maybe the harpies come to the demon because they know the demon is looking for this thing. And they're like, we haven't been able to find that for, decades. Like, we've been looking for this thing, because if we can do that, then we can do our cool thing.
Yeah.
The demon's like, I know where it is, and he's going from town to town, smashing these towns because he's just looking under stones. But eventually the demon's going to find it. And
maybe it's a lie. Maybe the demon doesn't know where this thing is, and they're all smashing towns for his goal, which is to resurrect his, his loved one. And it's under the guise of, we're going to find this thing for you.
Sure.
So it's this ticking time bomb where after the third or fourth town, the harpies are like, you say you know where this thing is, and it's not there.
So, it depends. Like, if the demon is at this power level and the harpies are like down here and then the howlers are way down here, that's one dynamic. But if the demon's at this level and the harpies are kind of like up here, where at any point, if the harpies just say, we're going to kill you, we're only keeping you alive, or we're only, like, it would be a tough battle, but we're not attacking you because we think you know where it is. So we're letting you live. And there's sort of this power play,
which if the players come into this relationship, the harpies could see them as allies.
Sure.
Where it's like, hey, we're just barely, maybe the harpies are like, we can take down the demon.
Yeah.
But he has, we don't know where the fish folk land, and we know the howlers will fight by his side. So I don't think we could win this. But if you can distract the howlers and the fish folk, we can take out the demon.
Yeah. And it could be that the demon sleeps with like a magic ring. Or never sleeps, and they're just like, if we can get that magic ring off him, then he's toast. Or like something like that, where that creates a situation where the players could be like, we can steal that ring, like we can go get it, and Harpy's like, we're just too clumsy, and like, we just want to kill stuff, like, and so the players are, then the players are like, they become sort of kingmaker at that point. It's like, we can make the harpies the dominant force, or we can leave it as it is and just watch it play out, or we can steal the demon's ring, and now maybe we can like go for the big thing and tell the harpies what to do and create an uneasy alliance with them. It's like,
and it all gets crazy when the Lionfish King shows up with like 60
with fish pirates.
Yeah,
he's like, I'll come after you all.
I love it. I really love this cool storyline and this faction.
Yeah, and the DM can just like watch that unfold, like just present what's going on, and then just see what the players do.
Yeah,
and then the players have a tough choice. Most players will probably just be like, we're just going to watch this play out. But a crazy group of players might be like, oh yeah, we're going to take the demon's ring, and we're just going to and then we're going to go get this magic item, and maybe we'll kill the harpies, or maybe we'll try to we'll be king of this band. We'll create our own band of like kind of weird renegades and pirates.
What could also be interesting, and we've run out of time here, but I want to throw this little idea out there too.
The fuck has decreed.
So I was thinking about like, why, is there a reason why the players wouldn't be like, well, let's just go and fight this demon, And there could be a situation where, let's say he does have a few spirits trapped in crystals or in creatures of some sort. Maybe the claim is that the death of the demon will release these elder spirits or these spirits or whatever. But they'll go mad without my magic to keep them. Like, I'm keeping, like, the process of me bringing them here is driving them mad. And I'm the one who's keeping them sane and whole. The moment you get rid of me, these creatures will be condemned.
Yeah, or you, like, unleash, these furies on the world.
Yeah. And he's like, do you want to see a elder spirit slowly turn into a demon? Because I'm keeping that from happening.
And you don't know if he's lying or not.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to see them as a demon. I want to keep them pristine.
Yeah. I love that you don't know if the demon's lying about it or if it's true. It could also be that you go to steal the ring and there's something you didn't foresee or didn't know about that then is like, and now you've really done it. Now you've really like unleashed the Kraken. So
it's cool.
It's fun.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Oh my gosh, our
What?
timer just went off. The puck of time. We perfectly nailed it. We've never done that.
Yeah. I always think about like people who just come to, like, this is like the first episode they watch. You know, they're like, what is this Obojima thing? And they're like, oh, this is cool. And then we start battling about the puck of time. And they're like, what? Go watch previous episodes.
I don't know if we've ever really explained it.
No,
and we never will.
No, it's just it's one of those things. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Obojima Podcast. You can check us out on other social media like TikTok and Instagram and Reddit, and you can join us on our Discord. And then you can also listen to the podcast on Apple Music and Amazon Music and Spotify and other things like that. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think the demon lord of this kind of small organization should be attempting to do. Is he trying to get his loved one back? Is he doing something more nefarious?
Yeah.
How would you play this out?
And draw fan art.
Sure. And also draw fan. Only the worst fan art.
Yes.
If you're not good at art, that's the art I want. I want someone who's just like, I've never picked up a pencil in my life.
Yeah, if that can be the moment where like somebody's origin story. They're like, I didn't know what to do, and I was listening to this podcast, and all of a sudden, like, that was the moment.
Yeah.
And then they go on to do amazing
And for that
things.
person, we want a 10% royalty.
Yeah, that's right. We want a finder's fee.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.